na to era dase hobi ko restriction diwa ye andaze hogore meherbani kore ara jawab bai dase gya kore dibo explain kore dibo iba jawab bai
Assalamu alaikum begin to ara dase pulisore gya kanun mojin dase 7 দিন টাইম দিয়া হরে হরে আর 7 দিন টাইম দিনা ভারি আর তো ইমার্জেন্সি হিসাবে 2 দিন টাইম দিওরে তরাতরি করি ফেলা হচ্ছে তো কন্ডিশন হিসাবে আর এপ্রুভ করছে তো হেড হদুন কন্ডিশন দিও আর কি উরে হইলে এটা দাসে হনিকে মানুষ ক্লাইম করি না ভারি ওর গাছর ওরে গিয়ার ওরে বা দাসে এটা গার্ডেন নাম বাজে তো হনকান লুসান নমান লুসান হলে দাসে আর বানা কমিউনিটির ওরে ন গুণা রোহিঙ্গার ওরে দাসে নাম হারা বয়ান তুই আনে কি অনারা তো হুশিয়ার করা হরিব বুঝাম আর বেগিন দাসে জজ বালয়রে বেগিন দাসে গুছিয়ে দিয়ে আন্দাসে আর বেগিন হইবারি কিন্তু দাসে গুছারে কন্ট্রোল করা হরিব আর তুই মাঝে তো ইনশাআল্লাহ আর তুই ইয়ার আগে হনদিন কিছু মাঝে মামলা ন তো ইবাম মাঝে আর ওদের ইজ্জত সাথে সুন্দর করে দাসে পিসফুলি ঘুরে যাইম বলে আর বেগিন আশা করি অনারা তো যদি কিছু মসিবত হইলে কিছু যদি হইলে মরানসে ইনশাআল্লাহ আইবারিবে আর দাসে যাবার সময় মাঝে দাসে বেনা জিন আছে দাসে বেগিনে হনাক্কা জায়গা মানে জুম আর মানুষ আছে এটা হিতার দাসে ফাইনাল হইব তো যাবার সময় দাসে শিরে চিন্তা করি এটা হনাক্কাম দাসে রাবিশ এন্ডিলা ফালাইর না যাইবাল্লা দাসে মু বেগিনে রিকোয়েস্ট করম আসসালামু আলাইকুম তো আর দাসে গিয়া যাওয়া আর দাসে এটা বডিলা মিডিয়া কল আসি তো অনারা আয়রে হতা তথা হুসাল লইবদে মিডিয়া কল আয়রে যোগাযোগ করে তো তাইবো তো তাহলে দাসে মিডিয়া পার্সোনালি তখন দাসে সুযোগ দিন অনারা দাসে মেহরবানি করি খেলা দাসে মিডিয়া হওয়া দিবার জেন ইনফরমেশন দিলে হের দাসে বডিলা হতাকল বডিলা বজর বডিলা হবো হেন্ডিলা ন হান আর মানুষ অজ্ঞবাসী মিডিয়া লাউরি হয়ে দেয় এই দাসে সুযোগ দিন মেহরবানি করি অনারা হাসে যদি অনেককে মিডিয়া আসি দইলে হিবারে ফারগারা দিবা মানুষই বইতে যেই বা ইবা হতুম বাজাইব ইবা দাসে উবার অর্ডার করি বাম্মা খাবার গিয়ে মানুষই বা দাহা দিবার নাম হইতে সুযোগ দিন আসসালামু আলাইকুম
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mohammed Junaid, and first of all, I would like to thanks to everyone who have came here, and thanks to media channels. First of all, let us acknowledge traditional owner of the land we have gathered today. We pay our respect to the elders of past and present. This is Aboriginal land and always will be. I would like to thank everyone on behalf of BRCA, Burmese Rohingya community in Australia, for your solidarity who is going through a genocidal campaign by Burmese genocidal military regime, and their crimes are defended by Aung San Suu Kyi. And it is a shame once human rights icon is defending horrific human rights abusers for her political, racial interest. And shame on them who are continually supporting her despite her denial of genocide against Rohingya people. Today we are gathered here to tell the world leaders, including Australian leaders, it is not acceptable to use the misery of genocide victim for the political and economic interest. And the international community must classify crime against Rohingya as genocide. And it is genocide because it is clearly a genocide, and the world leader must act urgently to prevent further killings of innocent people and must take action against the murderous Burmese regime, including Aung San Suu Kyi. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a few speakers here today who have come here from different regions of Australia, such as Queensland, Melbourne, and other cities of Sydney as well. I would like to introduce our first speaker, who is the leader of National Union of Students, Australian National Union of Students. Her name is Harsha, and she would like to highlight about condemnation of Australia's military cooperation with Myanmar. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for that, Junaid. I'm actually the National Union of Students ethno-cultural officer. I think it's very important for students to be standing in solidarity with the victims of genocide. But firstly, I just want to acknowledge the land that we're standing on again. It's the land of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. This land was actually stolen from them. Their sovereignty was never ceded. And when we talk about the actions of the Australian government supporting genocidal regimes overseas, it's also important to remember the racist foundations of this nation. So I pay my respects to elders, both past and present. And I'm here because students are outraged that the Australian government is giving support to genocide. The Australian government backs down the line the Myanmar military, even though it's carrying out a project of ethnic cleansing in the Rakhine State. Internationally, these are recognised as crimes against humanity. Even representatives of Trump's regime recognise this as ethnic cleansing. Homes burnt down, people killed, tortured and raped. There is no doubt that these were planned before they were carried out by military forces and local government authorities. Many Rohingya Muslims are interned in camps in the Rakhine State, and groups in the Rakhine have actually stopped the shipment of aid to these camps. Consequently, there are over 671,000 Rohingya at last count fleeing into southern Bangladesh if they can make it. Many are trapped at the border awaiting their chance to cross. And the muddy camps and unsanitary conditions that they have to endure there are dangerous too. The government doesn't just turn a blind eye to all of this here in Australia though, it answers the accusations of genocide by repeatedly saying it's in Australia's interest to maintain a close link to the Myanmar military. This is a very cold and calculating statement that is at odds with its so-called claim to be helping the region adhere to humanitarian values. In reality, it prefers to have strong military allies in the region, whatever the human cost. And now the government has extended its support to the regime again by inviting Aung San Suu Kyi to speak in Sydney at the ASEAN summit. For too long has the world allowed Suu Kyi to be called a human rights leader. As the de facto ruler of Myanmar, she has responsibility over what is occurring within her own state and what the military, which she relies on for her power, is doing. She has refused to denounce the genocide, and so students say that she is complicit in the genocide. The Australian government is well aware of this, but Julie Bishop still says that Suu Kyi can't be blamed for what's happening. In fact, the government is putting almost $400,000 into direct funding for the Tatmadaw, the Myanmar military. They claim it's not unethical because it's for English lessons and again, humanitarian assistance. We believe that there's no way the government can fund the Myanmar military without condoning genocide. It's unsurprising in a lot of ways that the government would be so callous. Look at how it treats refugees trying to get to safety in Australia. They turn back boats or lock them up in squalid camps on Nauru and Manus Island. Muslims here too are persecuted by the government and demonised in the press. So it's unsurprising that the Australian government doesn't care about Rohingya Muslims in Myanmar either. And I think this all fits with the broader project of the Australian government, which is spending billions of dollars on war machines, refugee torture and support for genocidal regimes, and all the while cutting billions from education and other services that students like myself rely on. Student activists in the National Union of Students are horrified with what's happening to Rohingya Muslims and will keep fighting in solidarity as long as the Australian government shows its utter lack of commitment to human rights. Thank you.
Thank you, Harsha, for concluding the whole global refugee crisis and especially the Rohingya crisis, for highlighting and concluding the issue. And we will continue with our chanting. The chanting will be led by our Sujauddin uncle.
Now let's start the chanting with shaming on Aung San Suu Kyi for her failing to protect.
Shame, shame!
Shame, shame!
Shame on you!
Aung San Suu Kyi, shame on you!
Shame on you! Shame on you!
Repeat shame on you, repeat it. Shame on you, shame on you. Aung San Suu Kyi, shame on you!
Shame on you! Shame on you!
Aung San Suu Kyi, shame on you!
Shame on you! Shame on you!
Aung San Suu Kyi, shame on you!
Shame on you! Shame on you!
Her defenders, shame on you too!
Shame on you! Shame on you!
Her defenders, shame on you!
Shame on you! Shame on you!
Military army criminals!
Criminals! Criminals!
Burmese army criminals!
Criminals! Criminals!
These voters are criminals too!
Criminals! Criminals! Criminals!
Those borders, criminals!
Criminals!
Aung San Suu Kyi, shame on you!
Shame on you! Shame on you!
Aung
Shame
San
on you!
Suu Kyi, shame on you!
Shame on you! Shame on you!
Heart supporters, shame on you!
Shame on you! Shame on you!
Heart defenders, shame on you!
Shame on you! Shame on you!
Let's continue our program. Thank you.
Thank you, Sujali uncle. And we'll continue with our protest. I would like to invite our second speaker, who is a representative from Dhaka, Burmese Rohingya organization in Queensland, association in Queensland. Sorry. And his name is Hakim. Dr. Hakim.
Now, do you know that over 600,000 Rohingyas have fled to Bangladesh in first 2 months' time of the crisis? Thousands of women and adolescents were raped. Can you even imagine witnessing the rape and murder of your families and friends? How can we stand by when the Rohingya genocide takes place just on our doorstep? Good afternoon, everyone. Let us acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we are meeting today. I'm Nurul Hakim from Burmese Rohingya Associations in Queensland, Australia. Thank you, Burmese Rohingya community of Australia, for allowing us to be here and speak about the Rohingya genocide. Along with myself, I've got Salim, who will continue right after me. Rohingya are the indigenous ethnic minorities of Myanmar. And the Myanmar government have restricted Rohingyas from freedom of movement, education, marriage, basic human rights, and citizenship rights. Even they have restricted having more than 2 children. By now, you may all be aware that United Nations have described it as a textbook example of ethnic cleansing. Myanmar government have been doing this for many decades. And now, over 700 Rohingya have fled to Bangladesh since the ethnic cleansing has started on the 25th of August 2017, which has made a total Rohingya refugee over 1 million now in Bangladesh. The deliberate killing of Rohingya is a complete genocide, and it has caused one of the fastest refugee influx in the modern history. The extrajudicial killings have not come to an end, and it is still continuing today. Thousands of people were killed and are still being slaughtered in Myanmar. This is a crime against humanity. There have been continuous findings of mass graves, and many more graves are yet to be discovered. Hundreds of women and children are raped, and the Myanmar militaries have killed thousands of parents, and now they have created thousands of orphans. With the evidence of satellite images, over 300 villages are absolutely burnt down, and at least 55 villages were cleared to landscapes, erasing the evidence of genocide and mass graves of Rohingya. Now the 1 million Rohingya refugees are suffering from the lack of shelter, food and medical needs in Bangladesh. UNHCR refugee chef has said that Rohingya refugees are the only refugees I have seen that have fled a country without very little belongings. With all these apparent evidences, United Nations and other media have produced several statements, and the Myanmar government have been accused for genocide and ethnic cleansing of Rohingya. But the Myanmar government denies the accusations and have asked for evidence for the accusations. However, the twist is that the Myanmar government have not allowed any independent media to enter the affected area in Rakhine State, because the Myanmar government knows that the truth about their devastating actions will be captured. On top of that, Myanmar government did not provide UN to enter into the affected areas to find the facts and evidence of the genocide. Now, if there is no ethnic cleansing and genocide, why is Myanmar government not allowing independent media and UN fact-finding mission to visit the affected areas? Why is there now over 1 million Rohingya refugees influx into Bangladesh who have left everything behind? The fact is that the Myanmar government have been repeatedly lying to the international communities about the genocide. My fellow Australians, do you know what Australia is doing about this? The Foreign Minister, Julie Bishop, has said Australia is deeply concerned. Yet she has avoided directly condemning either the Myanmar government or the military. This is not enough at all. Australia needs to step up and do something about this disaster. We cannot afford to ignore the killings and displacement of about 1 million innocent Rohingya, most of whom are mostly women and children, and they have all fled to Bangladesh. And yet, Australia is training the Myanmar militaries, and the same militaries that have murdered thousands of Rohingya. How can Australia take such an irresponsible action? That is absolutely contradicted to our democratic values. Don't you all reckon that? Documents released under Freedom of Information laws show that Australian Defence Department have been spending almost 400,000 to train the Myanmar militaries. Is that what Australia is valued for? Isn't Australia breaking its values and respect? That's not what we do Australians, do we? Myanmar's armed forces have faced international condemnation and accusations of ethnic cleansing in recent months for perpetrating a fresh wave of attacks against the Rohingya. However, Australia has so far diverged from its values and resisted calls from groups such as Amnesty International and human rights officials. Amnesty International Crisis Campaign Coordinator Diana Saeed has said, the Australian government's strategy of continued engagement and careful diplomacy cannot be justified given the extent and extremity of the crisis. This business as usual approach is unacceptable. It is only going to further damage Australia's international reputation, especially as Australia takes up its seat on the UN human rights officials. The decision of the US, the UK and the EU to cut military ties and the recent sanctions imposed by Canada all show that Australia is out of touch with the rest of the world when it comes to this crisis. Irrawaddy, which is a local newspaper, have reported that about 90% of Rohingya population has been displaced from Myanmar. And what can the international media do to stop this catastrophic event and bring peace and harmony? We urge the international communities to put continuous pressure and sanction on Myanmar government until they put a full stop to the ethnic cleansing and we restore all the rights of Rohingya. We also urge the International Criminal Court to force the Myanmar government to allow international media to enter the Rakhine State to show the world what the Myanmar militaries have exactly done to the lands and people of Rohingya in Rakhine State. We also urge ICC to bring the culprits behind this genocide, to bring them to justice, to bring Myanmar government to comply all the demands of United Nations and to find a durable solution to the crisis. As the Rohingya refugees in Bangladesh are in constant need of help, more humanitarian aids are required to provide medical and healthcare needs, as well as food and essential materials. Furthermore, this is not the time to build a friendship with such a brutal government. It's time to put sanctions against Myanmar. The Australian government should immediately use all its influences and means to stop the military crackdown on the Rohingya. Australia should take the opportunity to show leadership in the international response to this ongoing crisis. Australia should work with the key states in the region to bring political pressure to end the attacks on Rohingya and allow for a fair and independent investigation by UN in the Rakhine State and examine what has happened and bring the perpetrator to justice. We would like to take the opportunity to urge our fellow Australians to raise your voice against this man-made catastrophe before it is too late, so that we can all do something to save the remaining Rohingya population. Please talk to your local members and government to bring emotion in Australia Parliament to stop Australia's support to Myanmar. Therefore, work side by side with you to stop this ongoing genocide against Rohingya in Myanmar, so that we can at least save the remaining Rohingya in Burma. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum. I can hatawala shide tu ere hatakan hoidiya. Ara bidgunu fumati hata hoine bari. Ara bashi edi am alaikum. Yamma ju holike ayore on sa su si hoya ratu hori bode. Shame on you. Shame on you. Ekwan lambarat. Dulambarat bolle hard defender. And হইলে আমরা হইবাতে shame on you, shame on you. তারপর হইবাতে তিলমতে বললে Burmese military. And হইলে একটু জিবা আসি ভাই আমরা তো হইলো হইলে criminal, criminal. তারপর হইবাতে সাইনমতে হইলে they defenders. And হইলে আমরা তো কি হইব criminal, criminal দুইবার. First number stop genocide and হইলে right now, right now. So number justice for Rohingya হইলে right now, right now. Are you ready? All right. Now, Aung San Suu Kyi.
Shame on you! Shame on you!
Aung San Suu Kyi.
Shame on you! Shame on you!
Her defenders.
Shame on you! Shame on you!
Her defenders.
Shame on you! Shame on you!
Burmese military.
Criminal! Criminal!
Burmese military.
Criminal! Criminal!
Their defenders.
Criminal! Criminal!
Stop genocide. Stop genocide. Justice for Rohingya.
Right now! Right now!
Justice for Rohingya.
Right now! Right now!
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mahbubah. And now I would like to call our next speaker, Salim, brother Salim, who has been to refugee camp himself to see the vulnerable situation of the innocent Rohingya who is facing currently. And he would like to share some of his experience, and then he would also like to address the status of the survivors and post-genocide. Thank you.
Maybe she doesn't know what's going on around the world. Maybe she just pretended. Or maybe she's just ignorant. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about that pompous twit, or I can say tyrant, so-called some sort of prize winner, Aung San Suu Kyi, whom majority of the world, or can I say, the whole of the world admired. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to start off by thanking Bangladesh for their generosity for the acceptance of Rohingya refugees. Now, if you have any ideas where Bangladesh is located, I think most of you should probably know by now, it is one of the most, or can I say the most densely populated country in the world. And being that, it had the generosity of heart to give shelter to over 1 million Rohingya that are in need, in desperate need. I had the chance to have visited the persecuted nation in the world, majority of whom are currently sheltering in Bangladesh. Now, up until December 2017, I used to always hear about the systematic persecution and mass killing of Rohingya in Myanmar, the strategic operation against Rohingya, and stories of the thousands who have been subjected to extreme persecutions. I have seen footage of scenes where Rohingya civilians have been depicted no less than animals. They have been butchered by the Burmese militants and authorities. And I have seen photos, ladies and gentlemen, of mountains and flat valleys made of nothing but totally packed dead bodies of Rohingya. In my recent visit to Bangladesh, I have encountered hundreds of thousands of tortured and traumatized Rohingya in a complete dire situation. Ladies and gentlemen, the condition there cannot be expressed by any means of words. It's outrageous. It's disturbing. And you can probably see me shake. I don't know, it's just an autonomic reaction, I suppose. And it's totally unacceptable, ladies and gentlemen, in general sense, in normal sense. Now, as I stepped in the camp on a cold winter morning in Bangladesh, it's called Kutupalong Camp, I saw the sky filled with dust. Roads are not roads, but to be called some continuous line of filthy mud puddles. And thousands of Rohingya children spend days in and out.
I saw Rohingya babies crying for food on the street, crying for hours, while the other members of the family simply coughing out blood, and blood that does not look like blood, quite thickish, I must say. And I've also seen children from 6 years to 60-year-old elderly Rohingya, majority of whom suffer from diseases like osteoporosis, coronary heart disease, carcinoma, malignant melanoma. Now, to give you an idea as a health professional, these are the diseases that can cost your life in no time, or can I say in a period of less than about 3 to 5 years. And people with these kind of diseases perform hard labor work all day long just for some cash, as little as $2 Australian. Now can you imagine that? Kids like these, ladies and gentlemen, are supposed to be at school like our little brothers and sisters, our sons and daughters, building a future. And there they are, ladies and gentlemen, starving for a few meals on a daily basis. Now you might ask a question that there is humanitarian aid. Yes, there is. But ladies and gentlemen, there are people who don't have access, who don't have the energy to drive themselves to get this assistance. Ladies and gentlemen, during my 9 years of residency in Australia, I must say specifically in Brisbane, I have attended a total of 2 funerals. And can I just say, on my 2 days visit to the camp called Kutupalong, I had attended 4 funerals in 2 days. And I could not attend the 5th one on my way out. I have witnessed 5 deaths in such a small section of the camp. Now can you imagine 5 deaths from a small section of the camp? How many more deaths are there on a daily basis in the entire camp? And just to once more take you back to the number of population, the Rohingya population in Myanmar, the camps, it's over 1 million now. So you can work it out for yourself and reflect. Rohingya living in these conditions are utterly prone to diseases that are fatal. Now, as a pharmacy student, we are trying to maintain quality use of medicine in Australia and lead patient-centered profession. One of the most upsetting things I have witnessed is the death as a result of some misuse of medicines and misguidance. Ladies and gentlemen, hello. These people there, Rohingya, they're always prone to misuse of medicines. There's no particular health professionals. Anyone who goes there, applies for a job, simply gets a job. He does not need to have any backgrounds in medicine or anything. Now, one of the things that I have seen was a little, I would say about 7-year-old who went to a pharmacy and he was complaining of some really pain on his back. And the guy in charge was simply providing him, he's like, hey, hurry up, quickly give him something, a strong pain relief. And seeing that was just a bit too hurtful for me. There was no medical history taken. There was no questions about his previous experiences, his allergies, certain things that can be resulted to death. Now I cannot remember the number of horrifying stories I have heard from children as little as 5 years old to partially paralyzed elderly ones. One of the stories that I have come across was a 7-year-old boy with his baby brother who is aging about 14 months. And I asked him, what are you after? Because he was the first to approach me and he needed some money. And so I said, why do you need the money? The little fella, he responds by saying, look, I don't have anyone in school. I had my parents just 2 weeks ago. The only person I have left is this little one here. And before I can feed myself, I need to feed him. Otherwise he'll keep crying and I just cannot handle any cries. Now, I want you to imagine a 7-year-old, look at the 7-year-old child. And you would say that this kid here, he really needs some supervision. he really needs some good care. He cannot make any decision for himself. In these situations, ladies and gentlemen, in Bangladesh, Rohingya kids as old as your children here, 7-year-old, they do not just look after themselves, but have their first priority looking after an orphan brother. And I have come across many other stories as well, and I'll just point out 2 more. I'm sorry for taking all your time, but I just feel like these kind of things are quite new to you guys. Even though me, having born there, I've never heard such stories, and so I thought maybe share with you. And the next one was a blind woman who I met. She was telling me that she has lost both her eyesight as a result of the assaults done by the Burmese military. And she said that both her daughters and grandchildren are missing. And I was saying, do you know if there's any possibility that you could get any of them back? And that old woman just desperately said, I don't know if I can get them back anytime in this world, but I just pray and pray every day that they're safe, that they're alive. And I just want to tell you one of the updates that the UN made recently. UN's application on the possibility of natural disaster. Over 150,000 Rohingya refugees residing in Bangladesh, they're susceptible to some sort of natural disasters in the upcoming season. And UN are currently trying to take some actions to the prevention of these things happening. And as a Rohingya, I must say that after asking so many people, Rohingya people miss their homelands. They're desperate to return to their homes, but at the same time, equally, they're afraid to go back home because they have contact to their relatives who are already in Rakhine State, and they always get updates that torture, sexual assaults, abduction of teenagers, whether it be a male or a female, they're always continuous. And these people are way too scared to make a return. But nevertheless, they always wish for a return, safety to home. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say that we urge the international community to put pressure on this brutal government, which is led by so-called Suu Kyi, and to put pressure on its military dictators and to allow the Rohingya people to return home safely. Now, I want to put one point here. You'll find that the Burmese government is playing a hidden game here. Whenever they say, all right, we're going to take them back, there's always something that is a little bit pointy, I would say. That is a bit odd. One of the things that they did in 2012 was they gave shelter to some of the Rohingya people in Akyap. They made camps. And they said, you know what, we're going to keep them here on a temporary basis and we'll give them, further assistance later on. And then what happened is, just recently, on my visit to Bangladesh, I saw on the border those same people are still there. So what we urge the international community is that not just to return them to Myanmar, but to homes, to their own homes, not camps. And we seek UN's peacekeeping force to be with them as well. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I just may please take the opportunity to thank the organizers and all those of you who attended this very important, I must say, event. And on behalf of the Burmese Rohingya Association in Queensland, Australia, I thank you all. I thank the media, and I thank the organizer. Thank you very, very much, ladies and gentlemen. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Brother Khalid, for precisely describing the situation in the camp. And by the way, I would like to mention that Queensland Rohingya communities are working extremely hard work. Especially, there was a building with Aung San Suu Kyi's building in University of Queensland. This was removed recently with the effort of our brothers and sisters who are working hard in Queensland. Especially, may I get to, can we give a round of applause for our brother Mansoor Alam here, who has done an extraordinary job. Thank you so much. And I would like to call our next speaker, whose name is Apon. He happens to live in near refugee camps, and he attended high school and college as well with many of the Rohingya refugee kids, and he would like to share some experience of him. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. Hello everybody. My name is Apol and I am Buddhist from Bangladesh. I have lived all my life near Rohingya refugee camp. I have seen their suffering firsthand. The life in the camp is too bad. I know few people who are here, and I have studied in the same school and college. Let me be clear, what's happening to Rohingya in Burma is absolutely unacceptable. I feel so bad that Rohingya Muslims are suffering in a Buddhist country. Myanmar government needs to stop killing Rohingya. They are people, they are human beings. They are our brothers and sisters. We are all human. I demand Australia to speak with Burma. Let them live. I love you, Rohingya. God bless you all. Thanks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brother Apon. Guys, you know why we are here today? We all know that we are here today to talk about the lady killer. We are very let me finish. We are very respectful to her from the beginning to the end, but no more. Now we feel very humble to say the lady killer Aung San Suu Kyi. Aung San Suu Kyi!
Shame on you! Shame on you!
Aung San Suu Kyi!
Shame on you! Shame on you!
Aung San Suu Kyi!
Shame on you! Shame on you!
Her defenders!
Shame on you! Shame on you!
Her defenders!
Shame on you! Shame on you!
Burmese military!
Shame on you!
Guys, Burmese military! Burmese military! Their defenders! Their defenders! Stop genocide!
Right now! Right now!
Stop genocide!
Right now! Right now!
Justice for Rohingya!
Right now! Right now!
Justice for Rohingya!
Right now! Right now!
Aung San Suu Kyi!
Shame on you! Shame on you!
Aung San Suu Kyi!
Shame on you! Shame on you!
Her defenders!
Shame on you! Shame on you!
Burmese military!
Criminal! Criminal!
Burmese military!
Criminal! Criminal!
Thank you so much.
Assalamualaikum. Ogogore fiso jona ere busy crowd to dalbe to ogogore fiso dele dale tomara bolsa ba lokaiba to era ase dei tare ogogore mehrbani kore ukka je paida sona je ogogore ala bai uno lawle ogogore kubai diba de 10 minute kam na ki ore lo mun ja to na
Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum. Edaw manushi na alwa ektu ikkayo মানে গুগলেও তো নাইলো এই এর গরম দেখলে তো একসা আমাতি যেমন ঠিক আছে এসব মানুষ আর কি কেন আর উনি কেন এখানে মানুষ ওরা একটু অন্যকে আইও না ইয়া বেশি কথা রই আগে বহু সুন্দর আসলে
Okay, I would like to call our next speaker, the president of BRCA, Burmese Rohingya community in Australia, Harun Harris. Harun Harris.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brothers and sisters. Is everyone comfortable? Is everybody comfortable? Say yes. Put your hands up if you're comfortable. Yes. Is everyone comfortable? Yes. Okay, let's try the chant one more time. Let's try this chant one more time. And I really want you guys to raise your voices. I want you to show everyone the emotions and the distress that we've been going through, our families have been going through. Aung San Suu Kyi!
Shame on you! Shame on you!
Come on guys, is this all you have? Louder, come on. Aung San Suu Kyi!
Shame on you! Shame on you!
Aung San Suu Kyi!
Shame on you! Shame on you!
The Burmese military!
Criminals! Criminals!
The Burmese military!
Criminals! Criminals!
I begin by praising God Almighty and sending peace and salutations upon His noble messenger Muhammad, peace be upon him. I want to remind everyone that we have come here today with the same concerns. We had the same worries, every one of us here. We had the same disparity, the same thoughts, the same emotions. We are disheartened by what's happening to the fellow Rohingya in Burma. But let me remind you guys, ladies and gentlemen, that we have not come here as victims though. We have not come here as victims, nor have we come here as demonstrators. Instead, we have come here as teachers and preachers. We have come here to teach the oppressors in Burma the meaning of what justice means. That's what we have come for. We have come here to account those who practice terrorism and who support terrorism. We have come here to account them. Ladies and gentlemen, don't you guys think it is very unusual for our Prime Minister to be sitting down over a coffee with the very person whose hand is still dripped in the blood of the Rohingya? Isn't this concerning that our own government is sitting down with the terrorist herself? Why? Shouldn't we account her? Shouldn't we sanction her for her crimes against humanity? Why are we talking peace negotiations with her? She should not even have the platform for this. We should be accounting those who act in terrorist cause and those who are supporting. So what is terrorism? What terrorism? I really want you guys, I want to ask you really, and I want your hearts and minds in this. I want you to see the fact for what it is and not for what you are told. Look at the videos. Look at the images. I was told that the immigration minister or the judge who is part of the immigration is here. Hear the testimonies of those Rohingyans who have fled here. Hear the testimonies, and it's not in the ones or twos, it's in the thousands. Is this not an established factor of what we have been going through? So I want to ask you guys, who are the real aggressors and who are the ones being oppressed? Is it those who are living in refugee shelters? And guess where the refugee shelter is? Guess where the refugee camp is? It is in the very outskirts of the city that their father, their grandfather, their great-grandfather was living in. It's in the very outskirts of that city. That's where the refugee camp is. They are displaced in their home countries, in the homeland. Such a refugee camp that is deprived from food, shelter, that is limited with food, shelter, clothing, basic necessities like medicine. Imagine, I want you to ask yourself these, use your minds and hearts. Such poor people cannot even afford the basic necessities that every human being in this planet Earth has the right to. If they cannot even afford that, let alone buying arms and fighting. What is this nonsense? What is this nonsense? So who are the real terrorists? I want you guys to judge for yourself. You guys have the eyes, you guys have the ears, you can see, you can hear, and you have a mind that God has gifted you to distinguish between what is true and what is false. So you guys decide for yourselves. So if we can see the fact for what it is, why can't the Burmese government see? Why cannot the Australian government see? Why is the Australian government not putting sanctions against? Why is the ASEAN community not putting sanctions against Aung San Suu Kyi for her crimes against humanity? And not only Rohingyans, bear in mind, there are other ethnic groups in Burma who was also suffering at the hands of Aung San Suu Kyi. So my message to you guys is do not be afraid. Do not be afraid for what you believe in. Do not be afraid. Because we have come here to remind them that this war on terror that they are chasing is a phantom, is delusional. Where billions of dollars are being spent for no cause and no real reason. Do you seriously want to tell me that the real threat to the existence of human beings on earth is terrorism? Where more people are dying because of poverty, more people are dying because of economic exploitations, because of starvation and hunger. More people are dying because of infant mortality and economic injustice. And you want to tell me that terrorism is a threat? Why are we focusing on this instead of using this war on terror as a framework to separate one part of society from another? Why? So don't be afraid, my brothers and sisters. Stay firm. Stand for justice. Stand for what you believe in. Stand for what you believe in. Have a principled approach. So I hope my voice reaches every individual and household in Australia. I really do hope so. Because without the Australian public, without you guys, we cannot do anything. We cannot do anything. We living in Australia, we are requesting you, we are asking you guys to help us in our cause, in the Rohingya cause in Burma. Talk to your government. Talk to your Prime Minister. Talk to your neighbors. Give awareness of the Rohingya issue so that we are aware, so that we can distinguish between the fact and what is not fact. So people are told. People aren't believing what the media is telling. People aren't believing what these politicians who lie day and night are telling them. We need you guys to use this, your eyes, your hearts, your ears, and your mind to see, and you guys make the judgment for it. And do not say that this matter does not concern you. Do not say that this matter does not concern you. Because the very government that we have elected, is sitting down with a person whose hand is dripping with the Rohingya blood. So this does concern us. Why is our government intervening in the affairs of Burma and Myanmar? Why? You should question this. You should ask them. So let us stand united with our united emotions, with our united thoughts, and oppose this to the Australian government to stop intervening in the affairs of Myanmar. To put sanctions on Aung San Suu Kyi, a counter for her involvement in the Rohingya issue and other ethnic injustice. I want you to account the Australian military, the Australian government and the military for its support to that very regime that are the real terrorists that threatens and terrorizes the Rohingya. I want you to account the Australian government and pressure them really to cease any economic relationship with a country who practices terrorism in broad daylight, who massacres and who burnt down villages in Wholesome in broad daylight, and yet she's let loose. Why is she let loose? Why is she even allowed to come here for a peace summit? So ask these questions. Thank you very much.
Assalamualaikum. Obogre nizobutare obogre hatan mana ereda se speech kodde tara ereda se phone wala koshish kori adha se hatan ereda se hatan ereda se 20 minute bada hatan kaju to hamna se hatan kodde obogre meherbani kori pay attention kori adha se mobile kori hamna se ala chanting da se continue kojum ara mabura amon bhai ereda se continue koribo adha se tonai wala cooperate koribo bole asha kori.
Assalamu alaikum abar. এই যারা ভক্ত এসেও ইতার আল্লাহ হই দিয়ে ইতারা জিল হই রূপতি বাদি আমরা মাটিও নিয়ে বুঝছেন না আর হতা ফুলতে উঠে রাত আমাদের গিয়ে আসি জোরে আসি so let us start guys right all right Aung San Suu Kyi I can't hear anything from that side Aung San Suu Kyi still guys walk out Aung San Suu Kyi
Shame on you! Shame on you!
Aung San Suu Kyi
Shame on you! Shame on you!
That in the middle you're too lazy guys wake up Aung San Suu Kyi
Shame on you! Shame on you!
hard defenders
Shame on you! Shame on you!
hard defenders
Shame on you! Shame on you!
Burmese military
Criminal!
criminal Burmese military
Criminal!
Burmese military
Criminal! Criminal!
their defenders their supporters Aung San Suu Kyi
Criminal! Criminal!
stop genocide
Right now! Right now! Right!
stop genocide
Right now! Right now!
stop genocide
Right now! Right now!
justice for Rohingya
Right now! Right now!
Aung San Suu Kyi
Shame on you!
Aung San Suu Kyi
Shame on you! Shame on you!
Aung San Suu Kyi
Shame on you! Shame on you!
hard defenders
Shame on you!
hard defenders
Shame on you!
thank you so much
Thank you so much, Mahbub Rahman bhai. I would like to call our next speaker, who is the representative of Human Rights for All, and she will be speaking about the justice and trying Myanmar government and its subsidiaries. Thank you so much.
I'm part of the lawyers that yesterday brought an action, an application in the Magistrates Court of Victoria as a private prosecution against Aung San Suu Kyi for crimes against humanity. In particular, the crime of deportation and forcible transfer of population. This action was brought at louder. This action was brought at the request of the Rohingya community. However, there is not a Rohingya name on the action due to the concerns of retaliation on the Rohingya community. At the same time, we issued a brief to the Attorney General in Australia asking for him to
give permission to launch this action and to allow it to proceed. If and when the papers are sealed, we will serve these on Aung San Suu Kyi for crimes against humanity, and we will seek a trial date. We have presented compelling arguments, and there is an enormous amount of evidence of crimes against humanity being committed against Rohingya in Burma. We've also addressed state immunity in our brief. This is a textbook example of crimes against humanity. Okay. This is a textbook example of crimes against humanity and is the very purpose of why the legislation, which comes from the International Criminal Court, was put into Australia's domestic legislation. The idea of international humanitarian and human rights law is to end impunity for those people who are responsible for the gravest of human rights abuses. And this is what we aim to do. It just takes a few brave people, such as the people here and the people behind the action, to stop this impunity. No one should be immune from prosecution for crimes against humanity. Aung San Suu Kyi has the power to stop the abuses in Rakhine province and its surrounds. She has enormous power and popularity. Indeed, her very position was created just for her to be president of Burma. Her failure to address the actions in Burma and against the Rohingya is a crime against humanity which we will continue to pursue. Thank you.
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. Kita harus dulu hotel Dora. Hoy, inshallah dul payung buzurdin badala. बहुत द्रुत आशी तो रहे का जिनिस जहाँ आईची किसी बोली दहाई दागी ना इंशाल्लाह तो ये बेकिंग खेला शिला ना निजे ना हो जाए आइए से शुरू होते
Shame on you! 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 Shame on you!
Burmese military! Burmese military! Burmese military! Their defenders!
Criminal! Criminal!
Their defenders!
Criminal! Criminal!
Aung San Suu Kyi!
Shame on you! Shame on you!
One more. Shame on you.
Shame on you! Shame on you!
Well, guys, can we go home? Aung San Suu Kyi!
Shame on you! Shame on you!
Much better. Aung San Suu Kyi!
Shame on you! Shame on you!
Her defenders!
Shame on you! Shame on you!
Her defenders!
Shame on you! Shame on you!
Aung San Suu Kyi!
Shame on you! Shame on you!
Aung San Suu Kyi!
Shame on you! Shame on you!
Aung San Suu Kyi!
Shame on you! Shame on you!
Her defenders!
Shame on you! Shame on you!
Yamada bhut basde jodna mate. Aung San Suu Kyi!
Shame on you! Shame on you!
Aung San Suu Kyi!
Shame on you! Shame on you!
Her defenders!
Shame on you! Shame on you!
Burmese military!
Criminal! Criminal!
Burmese military! Burmese military! Justice for Rohingya!
Criminal! Criminal!
Justice for Rohingya!
Right now! Right now!
Justice for Rohingya!
Right now! Right now!
Thank you so much.
Right, thank you. We'll be moving to our last speaker. His name is Habib, also known as Nini. He's a representative of Melbourne Rohingya community, and he would like to highlight a few issues, including in Burma and Bangladesh and other transit countries. Thank you.
Hi everyone, thank you very much. Even I came from Melbourne today, it doesn't matter Melbourne or whoever we are from. I would like to see, very thankful, very pleased that our people are gathered from Queensland and also Melbourne and are from Sydney. So I would like, all of you has already know about ongoing Rohingya situation, ongoing Rohingya crisis. You've been already seen, you've been already hear from your people, your friend, your relative. Every one of us have been affected already. There is no one left in our country that they have not been affected. Everyone has been already affected. Therefore, I would like to just pray the ethnic cleansing and also genocide or like physical abuses, they are not going on today. The cases of Rohingya is long rooted in Myanmar. The case of Rohingya has been well documented and well known by international community. Since 1978, the government has been segregated, introduced discriminatory law, looting, replacing and seizing, destroying of our identity, our ancestral abidance and historical building. The government has also introduced Nagami operation called King Dragon operation in 1978. That killing thousands of our people, displacing more than 200,000 people, fled into Bangladesh. We have again in 91-92 called Pitaya operation. That operation also sent more than 300,000 people has been fled into Bangladesh and killing more than 1,000 people, imprisoned and detained more than 1,000 people as well. And the land were replaced with new settler, Natala Villager and ex-prisoner from central Burma. The case of Rohingya has been slow genocide. We have to say they are targeting not only Rohingya, they are targeting entire Muslim community from Rakhine State. For example, there are other ethnic group called Condemn. They also targeted, they also been faced same kind of persecution and pushed into concentration camp. The violence started from June 2012. Killing more than 10,000 people. More than 8,000 people killed from Sittwe alone. Destructed more than 26,000 across 120 villages, Rakhine State in different 13 townships. We have displaced more than 200,000 people. Of them, 150,000 people were placed into concentration camp. They've been there for more than 5 years now on. Again, we have from October 2016, similar operation, so-called clearance operation has been introduced. They began with looting, rapes, attacks, detain, and also looting crops, good cash, and everything whatever they can. That sent more than 100,000 people into Bangladesh and detained more than nearly 800,000. As young as children, age 12 were detained. And the women as young as 12 were raped, brutally raped and brutally slaughtered, burned alive and buried alive. In the last 25th of August 2017, the government used fight helicopter, machine gun, heavy weapon, firing rocket launcher, and attack with joint forces, ALP, Afghan Liberation Army forces, and government-trained Rakhine people. That sent more than 700,000 people into Bangladesh. Not only those fled in 25th of August. There are also many other people has been fled continuously from this region. In Mount now over 700,000 people has been fled into Bangladesh. That means we have only left 100,000 people in this region and the rest about 200 to 300,000 in southern region. So 90% of total our Rohingya population has been spread to foreign countries. Just less around 300 to 400,000 people, they are also confined systematically with blockage of everything, food, ration, and also having bearing for or whatever foreign contact or language support worker, they be subsequently and instantly attacked. The government, if you see the ad and the action, what they done to our people, that is complete destruction of our community. There is nothing more that the people has been segregated, separated, and the government and joint forces and majority of the people, they are denying our existence. They are joining, forcing and attacking our people. That means there has been needed a safe zone, a stay home or autonomy state for Rohingya people before they return into Burma. This crisis is genocide, this crisis is ethnic cleansing and war crimes against humanity. International community, United Nations, including Security Member Council, those developed nations, including Australia, they have to take action. We cannot just buy a standard. Every second, every minute, every day, we are counting the death toll. We are counting destruction. We are counting the rape, abuse, and our land has been erased totally from our homeland. Today, more than 400 villages has been destroyed, completely bulldozed by the government authority, and replacing with mega project, and also replacing with military-based camps, and also Rakhine people, new settler Rakhine people, those being settled there from 91 and 92. We want Australian government take effective action as a developed nation. Australian government just cannot ignore and leave it out and just prioritize the business. We would like to call Australian government abandon military aid providing. We would like to call Australian government suspend military tie, and also Australian government, one of the project, the company called Woodside Petroleum Project, they need to abandon their $400 million investment in Arkan Bay. We would like to call Australian government support the victim of Rohingya people. Don't shake genocide handmaiden. Don't shake world-class liar Mrs. Suu Kyi. We would like to call Australian government, cooperate with United Nations, cooperate with Security Council and international community, and take action together. We would like to call Australian government, invite the right leader in ASEAN summit, not genocide handmaiden, not dictator. We would like to call Australian government, criticize and condemn military power and the government. We would like to call Australian government, condemn and criticize military love Suu Kyi. Aung San Suu Kyi has been silent, but not silent on Rohingya, but she has been defending military action, military brutality. We would like to call Australian government hand together with us and take action on Burma to ease ongoing crisis on Burma. We also would like to thank Australian government for hosting ASEAN summit, and also thanks to New South Wales Police and Australian government locking down Darling Harbour, not allowing our protest in front of the building that where has been the summit happening. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well done, bro.
Thank you, Habib Bhai, for analyzing the history of our vulnerable situation happening since 1978 or have started since 1962. And we have got a guest speaker. His name is Shibi Abdullah, lecturer at the Charles Sturt University. He would like to speak for 2-3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. Please raise your voice, even if it shakes. Raise your voice for justice. Raise your voice against ethnic cleansing. Raise your voice till you get your land back. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to echo Nobel laureate Professor Dr. Muhammad Yunus. You know him, he is from Bangladesh. He says, Aung San Suu Kyi, Myanmar is as much as Rohingya's home as it is yours. They have as much right to live there as you have. Give them their home back. Give them their right back. Or else, give them the freedom they deserve. Independence of Arakan. Yes, they are the people of that land. When we look back at history, ladies and gentlemen, when we look back at the history, we can see that they are the residents of that land for over 4,000 years.
Yes.
They just became Muslim about 1,000 years ago. Can you push someone out of their land, out of their home, because of their religion? No, you can't. Aung San Suu Kyi and all people of Myanmar, look at the contributions. Look at the contributions of Rohingya people made to build your nation. How much they have contributed. Yes, look at they took a vital role for the independence of Myanmar against British rule. When we look back, we can see in 1951 there were 5 parliament members from Rohingya. In 1956, we see there were 6 Rohingya parliament members in your national parliament. When we look back, even after oppression and torture and ethnic cleansing in 1990, we see there were 4 parliament members in your national parliament from this Rohingya community. When we look back at the history, we can see the name of Ebe Ghaffar and Sultan Ahmed, who contributed a lot to build the nation Myanmar. They were Rohingya. We would like to advise all our brothers and sisters who are oppressed, please teach your kids the history. Please highlight the history that is your land to all over the world. Please make the heinous act as visible as possible. And finally, we want to tell Aung San Suu Kyi again and again, over and over again, Myanmar is as much Rohingya's home as it is yours. They have as much rights as you have. Stop apartheid. Stop ethnic cleansing. Stop genocide. Keep Rohingyas the land back. Citizenship back. Ensure their safety and security. Or else give them the freedom they deserve.
Yes!
Thank you. I'm sorry. Actually, we have to keep it a little bit delay. We have got another guest speaker from Burmese organization. He would like to speak a few words. Thank you.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum. Okay. ကျွန်တော်ဒီမှာပမာလိုပဲကျွန်တော်ရှင်းရှင်းလင်းလင်းပြောပြပေးလို့ပေါ့နော်ကျွန်တော်တို့တွေကနိုင်ငံထဲမှာနေပြီးတော့တရေထဲပေါက်ပြီးတမီထဲမှာနေပြီးတော့အတူတူကြီးပြင်းလာကြတာကျွန်တော်တို့တွေအများအားပဲဥပိ္ပခါပြုခဲ့လို့ယနေ့အချိန်မှာကျွန်တော်တို့ရဲ့အိမ်တကားတွေ Sorry Okay ယနေ့အချိန်မှာကျွန်တော်တို့ရဲ့အိမ်တကားတွေကိုသူတို့တွေလာခေါ်ပြီးကျွန်တော်တို့တွေကအကုန်လုံးစီစီယုံယုံနဲ့ကျွန်တော်တို့ကတွန်းလာမယ်အချိန်ကိုကြားရောက်နေဖြစ်နေတယ်ဘာကြောင့်မို့လဲဆိုတော့ကျွန်တော်တို့အကုန်လုံးလင်းလူခဲ့ပေါင်းများခဲ့တဲ့ဟာတွေကအခုကျွန်တော်တို့ဗမာပြည်မှာရှိနေတဲ့မွတ်စလင်လူဒန်းစားအားလုံးဟာတစ်ဖက်ဖက်နဲ့ကုတ်ချင်းကိုခံနေရတယ်ဒါကျွန်တော်တို့ဘုံဖွဲ့မှုဟိုလူမျိုးဟိုလူဒီလိုကျွန်တော်တို့မဟုတ်ဘူးအကုန်လုံးမွတ်စလင်တွေကိုဗမာပြည်မှာသူတို့တစ်ဖက်သက်နှိပ်ကွနေတာအဲ့တော့ကျွန်တော်တို့အားလုံးစီစီယုံယုံနဲ့ကျွန်တော်တို့ကတွန်းလာမယ်အချိန်ကိုကြားရောက်ကျွန်တော်တို့ဘာပဲလို့ကျွန်တော်တို့စီစီယုံယုံနဲ့ကျွန်တော်တို့ရိုဟင်ဂျာကိစ္စဖြစ်လာတယ်ကျွန်တော်တို့ရဲ့အခွင့်အရေးတွေပဲကျွန်တော်တို့သူတို့ထိချိနေကျွန်တော်တို့နားရတာပဲကျွန်တော်တို့တွန်းလာမှာပဲအားလုံးဘာကြောင့်လဲအခုမြန်မာအစိုးရရဲ့တချို့ lobby တွေကနေပြီးတော့သူကပြောတယ်ဒီလူတွေကဒီနိုင်ငံမဟုတ်ဘူးတစ်ဖြစ်နိုင်ငံလာတယ်ဟိုနိုင်ငံလာတယ်ဒီနိုင်ငံလာတယ်သူတို့ပြောနေတယ်ကျွန်တော်တို့ကအဲ့မြေမှာမွေးတယ်အဲ့မြေကထဲစားပြီးအဲ့မြေမှာကြီးလာတာကျွန်တော်တို့ရဲ့ခွင့်ရဆိုတာဘာလဲကျွန်တော်တို့ရှိမှာခွင့်ရဆိုတာတောင်းဆိုပိုင်းမရှိတော့ဘူးလားဒီ ဒီလူတန်းကအားလုံးကယနေ့အချိန်မှာနိုင်ငံထဲမှာနိုင်ငံသားတယောက်ဖြစ်ဘုံတိတ်ခါရှိသွားနေထိုင်လို့မရသေးဘူးကျွန်တော်တို့ဖတ်တဲ့အဲ့လိုနှိတ်ကွနေတဲ့ဟာတွေကိုကျွန်တော်တို့ပူပေါင်းပြီးတော့တော်လာမယ်မြန်မာစစ်အာဏာဒေါအောင်ဆန်းစုကြည်ဆိုတာလေ तू ကစစ်တပ်ကိုကာဗာလုပ်ပေးနေတဲ့ခေါင်းဆောင်တစ်ယောက်ပဲ तू ကာဗာလုပ်ပေးတဲ့စစ်တပ်ကအခုဒီမှာလူပေါင်း6000 9000ကျော်တပ်ပြစ်ပြီတကဘာလုံးကလည်းအခုနှုတ်ပိတ်နဲ့ပြောနေကြတယ်ဟို genocide တို့က atrocities ကိုပြောလို့ပြောဒါပေမဲ့ဘယ်သူမှ action မရှိဘူးအပြောပဲရှိကြတယ်ကျွန်တော်တို့ရဲ့တွန်းလာကျွန်တော်တို့ရှိမှာပဲရှိတယ်ဘယ်ကဘာမှမဟုတ်ကျွန်တော်တို့ရဲ့တွန်းလာကျွန်တော်တို့ရှိမှာပဲရှိတယ်ကျွန်တော်တို့တွန်းလာရမယ်ကျွန်တော်တို့ညီညီညွတ်ညွတ်နဲ့တွန်းလာရင်အများနဲ့ရွေးရမယ်ကျွန်တော်တို့အရွေးတစ်ခုကိုကျွန်တော်တို့သွားရအောင်မယ်ကျွန်တော်အဲ့လိုပြောနေတယ်ညီကုန်းချုပ်ပါတယ်ကျေးဇူးအများကြီးတင်ပါတယ်
Thank you so much. All right, guys, we're nearly finished. That's the last one that I'm doing. So before I go ahead, I would like to share one thing. Ladies and gentlemen, you may have seen there's a couple of the kids are attending here to the protest. Similarly, when I was attending a similar protest at the age of 5 and 6 and 7, the main purpose was for Suu Kyi. You know why? That time she was under home arrest, and we were there to ask the military to release her from the home arrest. Look at that today. Today we are here together and talking with the same lady, but in the opposite way. She was the victim first. Now she is the leader of the victim. Now she is the killer of the all Rohingya people. I would like to thank all the Australian authorities for giving us such an opportunity to raise our voice. But I'm wondering how she got an Australian visa to come to Australia. The lady who killing thousands and thousands of people under her command. This is the first ever destruction happened to the Rohingya people since the war. Ladies and gentlemen, within 2 weeks, nearly 1 million people drive out to Bangladesh. So it's not going to happen easily. Now, I would like to ask the Australian government to cancel her visa straight away and deport her to the Burma. Thank you, guys. The last one, that's all I would like to talk, and I would like to thank all of you, all the way from Brisbane and Melbourne. Anyway, ready for chance, right? All right. Aung San Suu Kyi. Aung San Suu Kyi. Aung San Suu Kyi. Her defenders. Her defenders. Guys, this is the last one, and you're gonna miss the same opportunity. I don't know when it's come again. Please raise your voice all together at the same time. Aung San Suu Kyi! Aung San Suu Kyi! Burmese military! Burmese military! Their defenders! Their supporters! Aung San Suu Kyi! Aung San Suu Kyi! Her defenders! Her supporters! I thought normal lage. But do mache are ya hoina baro. Aung San Suu Kyi! Aung San Suu Kyi! Her supporters! Her supporters! Burmese military! Burmese military! Burmese
Thank you, thanks everyone, every individual speaker who came here from a long way to speak here and to show solidarity. I would like to say a few words to Aung San Suu Kyi. We, the Rohingya who were displaced in the process of protesting for you when you were under arrest in the former arrest. Now we are under an attack. Now it's time for you to raise your voice for us. Almost 70% of our people, whether internally or living in transit countries, you have to use your power to liberate our country. Thank you. And also I would like to mention another event coming on 25th of March at Melbourne Park. And we do not come here just to say that shame on you and criminal. We must bring something from this rally, whether it's individually or collectively or as a team. We try to do something for our community or for the people who are suffering in many countries. Whether it be individually or be as an organization, as individual or as a team, please try to do something. Please raise your voice. We are living in a country where freedom of expression is free. We can speak. We can express our thoughts. So please use it carefully and raise the voice for our people. Thank you so much, whoever came here. Thank you.
Finish it.